Hi, David. Thanks for waiting. I was just very busy. Last couple of days, I will have a quick look here at the changes you've implemented so far. So I can see here we have a static background image, I think, which works much better. It feels a lot more fluent now. The website, it doesn't seem to be under that much of a workload here. So I think that kind of looks good. Here, now the call to action button is missing completely. I don't see it anymore. So very important to add that in as well as all the other changes we talked about for this section. But I think the background works better like this. I would probably also reduce the overall height of this hero section just a notch, so it kind of ends maybe around here. So we can already see maybe the next section, which would encourage us to scroll down here. Definitely add some spacing on top of this headline. With these call to action buttons, I think it works better than the 3 buttons. Definitely, I think it's already a lot more clear and more focused on that one button. However, I think the color doesn't really work that well with the rest of your design. I don't think it looks that, that luxurious, or it doesn't have the same style as the rest of the website. So I would work, with different colors here. Let me just have a look at that now. So this is kind of a very, in your face blue. And I would probably recommend to change that to some other, maybe even another tone of blue. You could go a little bit lighter. Let's just try something here. Something like this already, I think, would work better overall. It would look a little bit less aggressive, but still would kind of get my attention there. And if you compare the two now, I think this maybe looks a little bit a little bit less out of place. You would, I'm not saying this should be the final color, but you would just have to play around with that and see what kind of stands out, but still goes well together with the rest here. And I think this blue doesn't really work that well with the other colors we see here. Maybe you can also try for a golden tone or something, but it should kind of still stand out. And since you use gold a lot here on this website, it might not be the best idea, but you would have to play around with that. In general, I think it would be great though if for these call to action buttons you would have either a dedicated call to action section, so it would be its own section, it would have its own headline, and it would maybe say something like ready to transform your next event or something like this, and then we have the call to action button sitting below. I would also not make it full width. If you use it in a way like this, I would just just have a button that looks like this, and it will just look a little bit nicer, I think. But in general, I think it's good that you removed these other 2 buttons. Let's have a look here at the contact page. If you implemented any changes there. Yes, you did. So you placed that on the left. I think that already looks a lot more structured. I think that looks much better. Make sure to link that email address. Make sure to link that phone number. And I have the link to the Calendly. That's great. I think that looks good. Here, just make sure to reduce the spacing beneath the submit button. Make sure to use that same color for this submit button as well. And just push this up so we have a little bit of white space here, especially if you have a black on dark section below. So we have a little bit of white space beneath. So you would just push that box up and it would kind of end around here. So I think that would be important. Again, I think it would be great if I had maybe some sort of drop down menu where I could just select the event, maybe select the amount of guests I'm expecting, so you would also have a better idea of what this event is about. So I think that would be great. Again, I'm not a huge fan of these full black sections, especially if you have a black footer like this will just become one big area and it's almost a little bit overwhelming and very dark kind of. So for this section, you can either change the color for this one, or just have a background image overlaid, and it just shines through barely, but this will help me to kind of distinguish the two sections here, the footer section and this testimonial section. But I think in general this already looks much better. For this text, I would probably have this left aligned or right aligned instead of having this centered. I think it would just look a little bit better. The menu, you said you haven't really implemented these changes now, and I think these would be one of the most important changes to kind of streamline that a little bit and kind of, you know, make it a little bit more compact. Let's scroll down here. I think this section also looks better, but the green background doesn't work for me. Again, it doesn't really work with the rest of the design. So maybe choose a different color here. You could also, let me just have a look here. You could also try for kind of a grayish background like this one, for example, for instead of this green. I would be very careful with using like solid colored backgrounds, you know, for these sections, because you have kind of a very kind of minimalist color scheme overall. So we have this gold and black and white, and it looks very classy. So I wouldn't go overboard now with using too much color. Only use it, you know, to accentuate kind of a call to action button, for example, or something like this. Use it wisely, the color, because here just doesn't work. Also the contrast with the yellow and the green doesn't look that nice, I think. Again, this section, for example, looks great. That looks very nice. And here you change these sections as well. I think they look better now. However, now we have these white bars in between, which don't look that great. I think I would probably just remove these white bars, maybe give these sections a little bit more top and bottom padding. So you would just push the spacing out a little bit by, say, 15 pixels per box or per top and bottom. So we would just have a little bit more black on top here and a little bit more black on the bottom, just so they have a little bit more space to breathe. And then we remove these white bars in between completely, and that will just look a little bit better. But again, I would be also careful when using like full screen black sections like this. Yeah, it's a little bit overwhelming. I think in that case, these testimonials maybe would look even nicer, to be honest, on a white background. So you could just try, for example, to replace that with a white background, or as I said, with kind of if you have a background image in place there, I think that would also look nice if there's a strong overlay over it. So it's very transparent. It just shines through kind of and gives us a nice kind of feeling or atmosphere there. So I would just go over one or two other pages here. So I see you replaced all the call to action buttons. I think that's great. And I think it already looks better. However, you have to make sure that the landing page where people actually then get to the contact page, that this really works. This one really needs to be, this really needs to look great. Wherever you funnel people to, this page really needs to be on point. But I think it looks better, but I think you could improve the color. And again, I would not make it that wide. It would probably, you know, still get the same attention if it was maybe half that width, but it would just look better from a design standpoint. So we scroll down here. Right, and I don't see all the changes there. So yeah, let's scroll back up, and I will have one more look here at one of these major pages. The weddings page, this still links to the weddings, the events main menu item here. Just have a look here. And here again, we have this call to action button. So yeah, I think you implemented some of these changes, and it looks much better already. So I think you're on a good way there. But yeah, definitely all the things that I said in the original analysis still apply. I think it would be great if this all could be a little bit more compact and cleaned up, the whole navigation, and definitely the call to action buttons and the page that they lead to is very important. But yeah, so far so good. So I might look at the page at some other point, maybe if you implemented more changes. And yeah, we can go from there. So sorry for the delay. I was just very busy with some other projects as well. So have a good day and cheers.